To start off with, for the advanced training here, I'm going to go through a couple of things that may have missed yesterday in the basic training. First, under the players, if you go into their checkout screen here, you do have the capability of always looking at the display checkout history. This will show everything that they've ever been checked out in expendable, non-expendable, or both, also with the serialized equipment. So this will always be here even when you go ahead and clear the expendables. Once again, to clear expendables, all you do is on the main player screen here on the right hand side, you hit clear expendables and select if you want current sport only or all sports, and then players staff, and hit clear items. This will go ahead and change all your reports for the individuals, so I always suggest to go and back up your database. Also, we're going to be talking about doing the group checkout today, so I want to make sure everyone knows about the temporary IDs. So if we go add an item, right up top here, it lets you know start ID with 2 asterisks to make it temporary. You cannot check out temporary IDs. What this is for is to be able to let you get the information in here before you actually get the merchandise. So we'll do temp ID 1, which will be star 1. We go down the tree on the right hand side, just as always, and add whatever it may be. Assign it to a category at left. If it's the exact same, you didn't enter anything new, it's going to let you know this is the same item. You still want to do it. You can say yes there. And then in this particular case, we have cost in, reorder point. If you want to use that, you can type that in there. And since we don't have this item yet, we don't know the barcode, we are just using the temp ID. So since we don't have it on hand, we still have 0 of them. And we click OK. Now as you can see, it came up the star 1. And once we get the ID for it, we can go ahead and change it to a permanent ID. One way, if you're not using the purchase order part, is go ahead and go here, click change to permanent ID, scan the barcode of that particular item and press OK, or it might also automatically do it for you at that point. That will go ahead and change it as soon as you click OK here. Is there any questions on that part from anyone? All right. So going to move on to the purchase orders. Here we have a few that have been done in the past. As you can see, it has the ID of the item, the description of what it is, how many you have, you're ordering, the cost, the extended cost, plus the quantity received, the quantity received now, and if all has been received, along with the total at the bottom. Also up top, we have the vendors, the ship to. You can have multiple spots that you have stuff shipped to, so we allow for that. Also, if you have a purchase order number from your department, you can go ahead and put that in here. The tracking number is something that we have just for this program. That allows us to be able to track everything within. You can look up items by the tracking number, the PO number, or even by vendors or whatever. So I'll get more into that in a little bit. You can have this be 1, you can have it be 1001, whatever you wish. It really doesn't matter too much. It just has a starting number, and every time you do a new PO, it'll just increase by 1. The PO date was the date that you actually started. The date requisitioned is the day you actually place it. So to start out with, we need vendors and shippers. To do that, we click on the vendor shippers tab, click add new vendor, and enter whatever information there for that particular person or company. So in this particular case, I'm just quickly putting a couple things. The more you put in, the more it'll show up on it, but you don't have to have every single thing filled out if you don't wish. You can just do vendor name. So we click OK here. Now, to switch over to ship to, we go down to the displays here, and now we can go ahead and add another location to ship to. So on and so forth. So now we've just added a couple. If for any reason you messed up, you can go ahead and select edit and go in and change whatever it happened to be that was wrong. If you need to print this list, you just hit print here, and it'll go ahead and once again show you the standard form here where you can print or export to your HTML or text documents. To go ahead and start a new PO, we go back to the Purchase Orders tab, click Purchase Order, New Purchase Order. We select who we want it to go to, or who we're getting it from, and where it's going. Once again, if you have a purchase department PO, you can type in here. If you want to do it later, that's fine. Or if you don't have one at all, you don't need it. So the date required here, we can go ahead and type in whatever the date required might be. And then to add the IDs, all we do is click Add Item. First, for me, I'm going to go ahead and copy one of the IDs there. Click Add. I can paste it in here and hit Enter. This will bring up all the information on it, tell it how many we want, and the cost. If we have another one to do, we click OK, another. And now I'm going to go ahead and use that temporary ID that I made up. 200 of those also, and it is $5. And okay. Now as you can see, everything totals up. And if you wanted to go ahead and edit an item at this point, all you do is make sure the little arrow here is on the correct one. Edit item, and you can go ahead and change whatever it happens to be. If you need to delete the item, same idea. Make sure the arrows are to the left of whichever item you need to delete and click delete. Now, since as we can see here, it's a draft, as soon as we submit it, we go ahead and press place. It's placed. We have received 0. Also, at this point, you see that the items or the buttons up here to add, edit, and delete, along with place and close, have been locked out. This is done by this little checkbox right here. So if you need to go ahead and go back in and change things after you placed it, you can uncheck this, make your changes, but I do suggest go ahead and keep it locked whenever you're not doing your changes. To receive items, you click on receive items once you're on the correct purchase order. You can go ahead and scan in or enter your packing slip if you wish. Also, you select the part that or the item that you wish and tell them how many you got in. So I'm putting 150 there, click enter, and now I can go ahead and either receive more items for this purchase order, which I will do with the temporary ID, and we will receive 100 of these. So since we're receiving 100, it will be all received, as we will see here shortly. But first, it'll ask me to change the temporary ID. So this is where you would go ahead and scan the new ID. And as you can see, the new ID went in along with the all received. Now if we go ahead and go back to the expendables, we can see that here is the ID down here, and the 100 went into stock on hand. Also, if we want to verify when it went in for the year-wise, we can look here, 2009, start at 0, and added the 100. If we're going to do serialized items, it's a little bit more of a process, not too bad though. We can go make sure you're on the active side and find an item that is like what you want to go ahead and buy. In this case, we're going to use the VSR4 medium reds. Once you enter, you see down here that it has a serial number. All we do is copy the ID, and we can cancel out of this then. Go over to the purchase orders. We'll do a new PO. Select whoever we wish. Add item, and it comes up right here. So we can just click this and he'll paste that particular one in. We'll say we want 10 of them and they cost 300. Once again, we place it. When the items come in, we can go and receive items. And in this particular case, I'm going to say we received 5 of them. And close it. Now we know that we received 5 of them, but since they are serialized, we still need to enter them into the serialized screen because they each have individual IDs that will be attached to them. So under serialized, right over here on the right hand side toward the bottom of the buttons is enter received items. If we click that, we see that there are the 5 helmets that we went ahead and just brought in. So we select whichever line is that we want to do, click serialize item, and this allows us to go ahead and serialize them. If you don't use our labels for some reason and you etch in the number or however you may do it, at this point you could go ahead and just say, starting with ID 1256, we want the quantity of 5 and fill the grid. And it will go ahead and just move up consecutively. If we go ahead and say we want to enter each ID, let me go ahead and cancel out here so you can see this side. I can go ahead and just scan in the different numbers. And if you happen to scan too many, it will go ahead and let you know. So at that point, it'll just take away the last one. Usually you have the year made being the current year, and we serialize the items. Now if we close this out and look in the ID here, there are the items we just entered, the last 5 here. For being able to look up information, we can use the PO utilities here. If we know the tracking number, this is the internal one, we can go ahead and type it in and it'll go ahead and go to the correct one. If we don't know that, but we know what the purchase order is, we can type that in. If we want to go ahead and go from everything from a particular vendor, we can select that. A range of POs or a list of when this item when it was ordered in. So also we can look at all of the different ones, all the drafts, all of them that have been placed. That means that has not been totally fulfilled. All the complete ones, the one that has been fulfilled, closed and canceled. And at any point you can go ahead and print this report. Also, to find out on the activity of a particular one, we can go to that one and then click PO activity. It tells us when the draft begun, when it was placed, and also when it was completed, and every single time that anything has come in. So along with at all points, if you do use the user login, you will have your initials there. So at this point, is there any questions on the purchase orders?
Yeah, Radar.
Yeah.
For the PO number, does that automatically generate, or do you have to put that in each time?
The tracking number or
PO number.
the top PO number, that does not
So you have to
auto-generate.
put that in each and every time you do it.
That is coming from your department, purchasing department. So.
Okay. I was just making sure it doesn't do it automatically.
Nope, it doesn't. Any other questions? All right. Moving on to group checkout, which is probably what is the most used right now. So if we go over to the configure screen, click on group checkout, this is where we go ahead and be able to put all of the items of our group into the actual group itself here. So we can add a group. In this particular case, we did mesh bags. You can name it whatever you want here. If you want to go ahead and do a group just for bowl games, you could do that, or for workouts or whatever the case may be. It doesn't really matter what you call the groups as long as you know what they are. We add items. There's two different ways to add items here. First is to correspond with the player sizes. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and go down, select a shirt, and we want it to correspond with the t-shirt size. In this particular case, select, it comes over here. You select how many you want for each person to get. In this case, we're going to go with 1. And we're also going to add another item. If you have an item, yes, let's save this. I'm going to go find a ID for hats here that do not have a size, because you can not only do it according to the size, but the item itself. So this might happen for your hats, this might happen for bags, whoever doesn't have a size, but you want to go ahead and check 1 out or 2 out to everyone kind of idea. So when pasted that in and hit select item, also you can just scan it, makes it a lot easier. It comes up with the description down here, how many we want checked out, and okay. Once you're done with setting up all the items in that particular group, we click Save and go to the group checkout. So then we select which group we want with this drop-down menu. Select whoever you wish for it to be checked out to. If you want to go ahead and clear all boxes, you can hit clear all boxes. Same with select all boxes. You can restore your setting to whoever was the last saved. In this particular case, just those 4. And if you want to save it as something different, you can just deselect or select as you wish and press save. Also, if you need to change to staff, you can do so right here. So you can check the same group out to players and staff. So now, since we've selected our group, selected our players, we need to make sure we have enough of the quantities for all the sizes. So we verify sizes and quantities. Here we see that we need one of each, it looks like, and the caps. So, I'm sorry, we need 2 larges, 1 medium, 1 2X, no XLs. So if we would have had any more larges, it would have went ahead and told us we aired out. Also, you see that we have the need for 4 hats. But since we don't have any short, that means we don't have any errors coming up down at the bottom. So we can close this up, and now we can go ahead and check items out to the players. All that has been checked out to those 4 players now. If we go over to the players, look inside, look at the display history, so it's nice and easy. We can go ahead and see. Thought he was one of them. Let's verify this real quick. So, Russell Allen, let's try him. And display checkout. Scroll all the way down to the bottom, and you can see right here that those 2 items were checked out today. The reason why it wasn't the first person I looked at was because right now I have it set for all sports, and the first particular one is men's soccer. Now, to make it nice, we went ahead and set it up so you can have different groups under each sport. But if you happen to need to go ahead and grab something from another sport, when you add items here, you can click all sports, and it'll go ahead and generate all the different items for all the different sports. So as you can see here, here's all the different sports. We can go ahead and select down and choose whatever we wish. If you go ahead and try to check out items that you don't have, let's go ahead and do this again since we were short on larges. We can verify sizes and quantities. Here we see that we are short 2 larges. So it tells us who it's short on, Brandon and Russell here, and what the overall is for that particular item. So if we still wanted to go ahead and check something out to them, we could go ahead and do it separately. And now it doesn't have that issue. Or we can go ahead and change items up for them individually. Just check out the items separately. If they go ahead and have something that is not corresponding to the other sizes. So in this particular case, I'm typing out large, which is not just L. And when we go to check out under group checkout here, it's going to tell me that the player size was large. These are the sizes that are in the system. So we can select whatever we wish and either update it so it'll change it automatically for us, or leave it as is. Ideally, everything should be jiving throughout, and that's why I was emphasizing yesterday that we really need to make sure that everything throughout the entire system is done all the same for how you put in the sizes. If you don't have enough items, it will not allow you to check out to anyone. Any questions on this?
Yeah, actually, Ray, I have a question. On the group checkout, if you can remember back on yesterday when we talked about the non-dispendable items, I asked a question about like, I guess, barcoding like the player pants and actually putting them in the system, and then with some guys having, what is it, actually having their pants have to be altered or whatever. How would you compare a group checkout versus the non-expendable items on something, let's say like the pants? Which you would know that there would be a mass checkout for the pants under the group checkout, but if you want to still, I guess, like customize or have some type of customized system for those guys that you know, they'll have that size 30, but the pants may be 2 inches shorter in the leg compared to the regular stock that you'll have.
Well, in that particular case, what I might suggest is we talked about possibly doing mods or
Right.
something along that line here. Another way you can do it in that case is, let's go ahead and do 25 just for a short number. A category, we're going to do size 36, and you can do like a -2 kind of thing, I think. So if we do something like that, and if we go into the player sizes here, for pants, we can do a 36 -2 also. So now, if we go ahead and do a group checkout for that include the pants, and the reason why it's taking a sec is I think it's taken every single one since I had it on all sports, yes. So we're just going to go current sport. Yes, come on. Oh, here we go. Selecting up here, going back to the corresponding with sizes. Go ahead and go down to the pants, and we want it to correspond with the pant size. Okay, that, and we save that. Now we just want to do the original checkout to the first individual. So verify, and now if we go ahead and go down, we see that the pant size 36 with -2 there's one required.
Okay.
So that's probably the best way to do it if you want to do the group checkout.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Can you go through creating a group really quick again? Just a brief overview. How do you create a new group?
So a new group is under Configure, and we click Add Group, add whatever it may be. In this particular case, we're going to put bowl gifts. And then you add the items. If it's using the corresponding to the player sizes, you have the top selected. If it's just the item itself, you have the bottom selected. You hit select the item. If it happens to be the corresponding with the sizes, you also select what the particular size is to be corresponding with and select item. It'll pop up on the right hand side, and you just enter how many you want of that particular item to be checked out to each person, and click OK.
Now in that add item section that you're just at, when you click the item with size, can you barcode at that point, or do you have to go down and check the left side?
No,
Can you
this
kind
is
of barcode and bring it up, or no?
no, it can't.
Okay.
This is where you have to actually go all the way down the tree and find the particular item that you want, and it'll go ahead and check out according to the correct sizes. If for any reason you have it so the so something is not in there, let's see, is there anyone here? Let's see if verify sizes. So in this particular case, Russell Island does not have a pant size put in. So we can go ahead and select whatever we wish here. The reason why it has two larges here is because when I went ahead and added a new pant, and it asked me, this already exists, do you want to add it still? This is why it popped up this way. If you go ahead and make sure that everything that is slightly different is separate, you won't have this issue. So if there is none, it'll automatically pop up and ask you what's going on. So at this point, you can once again update or just leave it as is, still check out that particular size to them and go throughout. If you want to go ahead and just stop because it's taking too long, you want to go through everything individually, you can just cancel, stop verifying, yes. So, any other questions about group checkout? All right, going to move on to the user's ID then. So to get into the users, we go configure, users, and there's a generic username and password, which I have already deleted, and I suggest if you do use this, you go ahead and delete it also. If for any reason you do delete it or deactivate it and you can't get into your account, then go ahead and contact me, and I do have a password that can guess in and change things around. It, as you just saw, it is very sensitive to being exactly correct. So in that particular case, I tried logging in with radar with a capital R, and it did not work. Here, as you see, we have first name, last name, whoever initials you want to show up, the username, their password. If they're admin, they'll have a yes here, if not, no. And if they're enabled, yes or no. Admin allows you to go ahead and archive people and serialize equipment, along with deleting equipment and being able to add and subtract users. If you just want someone to be able to do the everyday activities, we go ahead and just have them enabled, not as admin. If you want to do both, you have admin and enabled, both selected. To require users login, we click on this little box here. To add a user, click add user, fill out the information. Once again, if you're going to be needing to add, subtract users, to archive people and serialize items, go ahead and click here. If it's just day-to-day check-in, check-out operations, just have them enabled. To edit a person, we can go ahead and click on here, click edit, and go through and change whatever information we need to. To delete the user, just hit delete. Are you sure we want to delete them? Yes. But at the same time, if you want to go ahead and leave them in the system just so they can't do anything, you can have them unenabled and no admin privileges. That means they can't log into the system, but you still know who it was for any future, for checking the initials versus something. So we can save this. And now once we exit the program and re-enter, it will go ahead and ask me to log in. And as you can see, not only are your computers at times slow, so is mine. So while this, go ahead and think, is there any questions from anyone about users login? This might be useful if you go ahead and have multiple people on your computer, or if you want to make sure you know who is checking out what to whom. So we go ahead and it closed up. We go to open it back up and it asks for the user login. I go ahead and log in, and in a moment it'll come up just as usual, except there's one button that has been added, the logout function. So right under the active sport, here we have the logout user. If we need to change users, or I need to just walk away but don't want to shut down and reopen it, we can just log out user, click yes, and then the next person, whoever it may be, can log in. So there's no questions on users login? Alrighty. So the next thing I want to go over is making sure everyone knows how to move items around. So think went over this in basic training, but just to make sure, if you went ahead and accidentally had a couple items that you forgot to see if it's supposed to be under t-shirts, you just started entering it under clothing, whatever the case may be. We go ahead and select whatever the items are. For multiple selections, we just hold down the control key. We hit move selected items. This allows you to read everything about how to do it. Tells you how many you've selected. And we select the new category it's supposed to be moved into and click move. Now if we look under the t-shirts, there are those items there. If we have items that were supposed to be non-expendable, or we decide afterwards that it was better to make them non-expendable instead of expendable, we can go ahead, and vice versa. We can go ahead and go into configure, find the particular item that we're talking about. In this case, I'm going to use pants. And you just go over here to change it to expendable. And once you click save, if we go to expendables now, we can see there was already one pant there, and now there's two. The difference being that one has the dash. So I don't know exactly why they have two different ones of pants. In this particular case, it looks like one is a thermal category and the other is practice pants or the game pants. So that is how we go ahead and move categories back and forth between expendable and non-expendable. There is no way to move anything inside the serialized as of right now. Also want to quickly talk about sometimes in like this case you have shoes, which you can scroll trying to find a particular shoe. You may want to go ahead and break this up into different categories like cleats, workout shoes, turf shoes, whatever the case may be, just to keep it down to more like a page to a couple pages instead of having quite so many pages. If we hit reports here and look at how many this is 10 pages worth of stuff. So as you can imagine, if you would print out the bar boards, this will be very large. We'll do 2 column even. So once again, it's 10 pages. That's a lot to try flip through. So you, just as a suggestion, might want to go ahead and keep it shorter in more categories. And we can always add categories and transfer these items just as I showed you with the move selected items. All right, I believe that is all for today. Any questions at all on the program?
Yeah, I have one about the moving thing. Can you move, for instance, you have a player that changes over, for us, I guess it would be a player retires and then comes back as a coach. Can we move a player from being after we archive them to being a coach?
As of right now, we can't do that. But at the same time, get a hold of me and I can go into the database and just change it internally. That is one of the things on the enhancement list. We just haven't got to that yet. Good question, though. Is there anything else?
Yeah, I have a question. If I input something and I end up sending it back to the company, how do I take it out of my inventory?
Is it expendable good, non-expendable?
Yeah.
If you want to go ahead and just take out your inventory, it's very simple. If it's the entire amount, you just select that item, hit delete item, delete. Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty easy. Thanks.
If it happens to be just a certain amount, like this was the second year you got it,
Yeah.
and the coach decided, you know what, I forgot I didn't like these last year, we're getting something else. You just go in to the particular item, you can scan it, and over here you can do lost scrapped. So if you wish, you can do scrapped for whatever you send back, or lost for whatever you send back. Just as long as you know how to describe it once someone sees lost and scrapped. Personally, I'd use scrapped and just go in and say 5 of the 6 were scrapped. And now that tells me I do have 1 on hand here. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Thanks.
No problem. Is there any other questions?
I mean, just to add to her question, as in ordering some and then you got it and put it in the system and everything, and you created a purchase order for it and then you wanted to send it back. From a PO standpoint, I guess how would that affect that in any way? Would then you want to go back and actually for your records to want to add those costs, just back, or how would the PO play a part in that?
Down in here we have a comment section that you should be able to type in even if it's completed. Whatever the case may be here. That way you have records that it was sent back.
Okay.
Because once you receive it, it's taken as you fully received it. You did a physical count, you double check, you entered it into the computer. So.
Okay.
Also, the comments can be used for making special comments about billing, shipping, whatever the case may be, logos, and to print out the POs. I don't think I talked about this. You just hit print PO, and it'll come up just like all your other reports pretty much. That way you can either save it, print it, fax it, send it in to whoever, and as you can see right down here is the comment section. Next question. Nothing else? Alrighty, well, thank you all for coming again today. Hopefully you learned something, and if you do have questions or other needs as you get working on it more, please let us know, and we'll see what we can do for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Radar. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. You too.